In this video, we're going to go over chapter 18, which deals with displaying data. Specifically, we're going to be making use of the procprint and the options of inside procprint to display data sets. Okay. So our first program is program 18.1. It's a very simple program that basically displays the SAS, the shoes data set inside SAS help. Okay, we can go there and see how it looks like. Shoes. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 variables. Okay, region, product, subsidiary, etc. Store, sales, inventory, returns. So we're just going to display that data set with procprint. So that's the basic display. Now you can add titles. Okay, for example, this one, listing of data set shoes. Title 2 in the SAS help library. Title 3, just a line of dashes. So if you run this, what do you get? Well, you get the same, a listing of the data set. The data set is displayed, and also you have the comments that you wanted to include, the headings that you wanted to include. Listing of data set shoes in the SAS help library, and the line, the dash line. Now, program 2, which is program 18.2, does something else. Okay, so we're not gonna just print the data set or display the data set. Okay, we want to do something else. We want to get rid of this observation column, right? We have done this before, but again, it's never bad to go back to it again. And we want to make the region my ID. Okay, so again, we have the titles. We're not going to change those. Procprint, same data set. ID region. Okay, so I'm getting rid of the observation column and making the region the ID. Now I just want to display these 4 variables. I don't want to display all the variables. We have how many variables? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I just want to display product, store, sales, and inventory. Product, store, sales, and inventory. So I don't really want to display subsidiary and returns. Okay, so you tell SAS what variables you want to display after the var statement. Okay, hit run, and there you go. Same data set. We have we have used the region as the ID now, and we got rid of the variables that we didn't want to display, okay, in our table. This, is a pretty big data set. Now in program 3, which is program 18.3 in your book, we use an option, OBS, and we have done this before in our course, but it's just a matter of, restating it in this context. We want to just display the first 8 observations of the data set, because the data set is so big. So just the first 8. Okay, same options as before. We want to make the region the ID, and we only want to display these 4 variables. So if we use the OBS in parentheses after the data in the procprint to display only the first 8 observations. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. First 8 observations of the data set only. Now, program 18.4 is going to tell us how to use procprint to display or not a label If you remember from the first chapters, when we were dealing with point and click tasks, we learned how to display the labels for the variables or not display them. Some variables have weird names and you don't really know what they mean, but they have a label, and when you change to labels, it actually it clearly says what it is, right? So sometimes you want to show the label, sometimes you don't. So this program is going to show you how to do that with code, not point and click as we learned before. So this data set is called dimensions. It's comprised of these 3 lines of data. So it's included in the program. It's just a toy data set that we're using here. The input statement is saying, okay, the subject variable is just it's a character variable, and then we have height, weight, and waist. Okay, and then we create labels. SUVJ, we label it as subject. Okay, HT, height in inches. Those are going to be the labels applied to the variables. WT, subject's weight. Okay. Now, if I run proc print ID subject 3 variables without doing anything else, I will just get the names of the variables, not the labels. Let me click that, and you'll see only the names, which could be difficult to interpret. What does this mean? HT, what is that? WT, what is that? Even if you realize, okay, so weight, is it in pounds? Is it in, kilograms? What is it, right? So if you actually run this data dimensions, okay, so proc print, the same thing, but you include the option label after the data in proc print, you get the labels. Okay, so height in inches, subject's weight, waist. This is better when you're displaying the data for for some presentation or some lecture that you're giving. Well, I mean, so that people can see what the data, what the columns mean, because HT is kind of like unknown, it's a mystery, right? But height in inches is pretty clear about what these numbers mean. Okay. Now, program 5 is program 18.5 in your book, page 279. It teaches us how to display a data set broken by certain variable, character variable in this case, right? The categorical variable, which is gender. We're using this health txt file, which is inside the SAS files. Okay, so go here inside my folders. Okay, SAS University Edition, my folders, health data, FGH, health txt. So this is the data set. Okay, I think we have used this data set to exemplify other things before. Now, this data set, we have the in-file statement telling SAS what it is. The input, first the columns from the first column to the third column, we have the subject variable, which is character, and the fourth column we have the gender. Age is from columns 5 to 6, HR 7 to 8, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now this is just reading the data. Now let's say I want to print the data set by gender. So the first thing that you need to do is to sort the data set by gender. Sort it by the variable that you want to use as the break-in variable. Okay? And then once you have sorted the data set by gender, you're gonna print the data set. In this case, we said the ID is gonna be the subject and by gender. And let's see what happens when we do this. So it's displayed by gender. So we have a table for gender, and a table for the females, and a table for the male observations. Okay. So that's how you split the display by, let's say, gender or any categorical variable, truly. Now, the last program is program 18.6, which is adding a count of the number of observations to the listing. Sometimes you just want to have, a line that says, okay, the total number of observations in this data set is 100, 300, whatever it is. So you achieve that by putting this option here. N equals, and then total observations equals in, semicolons. That's gonna, if you run this, you'll see how it looks like. So basically, you're telling SAS, right, total observations equals N. N is the number of observations. Okay, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 observations. And you see it's sorted by gender because we didn't, we already sorted it in a previous program. So the actual IDs are all scrambled. So that's how you can get a small comment saying, I have this many observations. You can do many things with proc print to display your data. It's an easy procedure to use. Now, if you want something more sophisticated, you can use proc report. But we won't cover proc report in this course because it's kind of an advanced topic, and it really, there are books on just proc report, all the different options that it has to create super fancy and complicated reports. But for basic stuff, proc print works nicely. So that's what we are doing here in this course. Chapter 18, displaying your data, is all about how to use proc print to display your data.